Hey, welcome back to the Ready State. I want to talk about a common position we see a lot of athletes working on called the sleeper stretch. And again, we're not ever saying you don't need to have full internal rotation of your shoulder, but check this out. We see athletes in this position all the time working on trying to improve their internal rotation. And the question is, in this position, is this a shape I need to work on? So yes, this should be a pain-free shape, right? That I should have this rotation window accessible to me, but I'm usually not throwing across my body in this position. And so what we're always trying to do is give a little bit more context to the shapes and positions we're trying to improve. And that shape is actually over here. So this may improve this, but it ends up being a little bit different in certain the demands through the connective tissue system, et cetera, et cetera. So when we're working on improving range and capacity, rarely do we need to work on this, right? And usually it's being able to have this hand come across the body and still be able to externally rotate effectively, right? Like a front rack. So one of the things that we can do is still appreciate that this shape is valuable, that usually we don't end up spending a lot of time working on passive internal rotation or away from stable shapes, mainly because our athletes can get there easily. The body is set up so no matter what, I can always get my hands to my face. Like even in the worst, most wretched positions, you'll see that people can unwind their capsules and connective tissue and muscle systems away from these powerful, stable positions, right? I can work here and I always can get to here. Usually we don't see that this is an issue. In this position, it's a little different game, right? With the hand out to the side. But that changes a lot of the demands of the shoulder. So when we're dressing sleeper, we like to work a little bit more on a position that reflects the actual shapes we're going to be in, which is hand a little bit in a slightly different plane. Instead of the shoulder here in this front rack shape, we'll work with the hand out here. So we can put the barbell. I mean, Jesse Burdick for a long time used to turn my obsession with internal rotation into a drinking game, right? Every time I said the word internal rotation, you had to drink. But one of the things that we can do here, though, is we can load up the rear of the shoulder, that posterior cuff, posterior musculature, and instead of working on the internal rotation in this position, I can actually load up the shoulder by coming a little bit further forward with the ball on that posterior cuff, and then I can work on my external rotation. So I can press into end range, and then I can overpress myself and address some of the limitations in this position. I guarantee you, you don't need more slack passive range this direction in this position. You certainly need it in this position, right? But notice that I'm out in this front rack shape, trying to restore my external rotation, this long lever front rack, like a plank. But again, I can bring my torso over, wind up this posterior fascia, challenge the rotator cuff, challenge some of this musculature by bringing my torso over a little bit, but keeping myself in this stable position. So I'm in a less impingement position. If you want to test your impingement, this shouldn't hurt, but you'll see that by improving this shape and being more comfortable here, you'll actually improve the rotational kinematics and joint mechanics that we're interested in. So, overpress, be active as you can. You can do your contract relax here, and then you can sneak in to a lot of the features that sometimes get lost in this conversation. What's going on with the triceps here, this long head? Whew. I can address anything in the context I'm trying to change. So when we're trying to mobilize, we are always trying to move towards safer, more effective positions where athletes struggle, and we're trying to load fascia and tissues in those positions that we're trying to improve. So we've been saying mobilize at the position of restriction for the last 12 years. This is one of those cases. Hey, I want to be more comfortable across and less sleeping-like position. Turns out encouraging this rotation doesn't necessarily get me into a better, more functional shape, unless I'm some kind of, freestyle dancer. You know who I'm talking about, so you think you can dance? So play with this. Tack the rear of the shoulder, capture some of that rotator cuff. You can look at musculature from scapula to arm. You can also go from musculature from body to scapula in this position, right? That might be a different relationship, but overpressing into external rotation, get our rotators on, overpress in those positions, and I guarantee you that will give you a better rotational window and the one that actually has more context to the training that we're doing. See you tomorrow.